Hey guys, I wanted to do a quick unboxing and review of a Steeldive SD1953, which is a Rolex Submariner Homage watch. Very popular on YouTube, lots of reviews out there. I actually purchased the gray dial, gray bezel version. So I haven't seen a review of this gray one yet, so I thought I would throw one up on YouTube. So I bought this from Aliexpress during their 11/11 sale, and I think shipping and tax included, it was about $53 US, and I got it in about a week. So I believe that this was actually sitting in a warehouse in Los Angeles and then went through customs and arrived within about 7 days. So very impressed with the delivery time. So it's going to ship in a hard shell plastic case, and inside the case you're going to get the watch. And it looks like there's a tool in here to resize the bracelet. So this will actually remove the little pins and the bracelet links to resize it. You're going to get this guarantee card. Now this one's not filled out, so you know it's a $50 watch, so what do you expect, right? And an instruction manual. So let's go ahead and take a look at the watch. Let me get this unpackaged and get all the plastic out of there. I won't bore you with that, but let me at least show you how it comes in this bag. Now this, like I said, is a SD1953, and you get this in different colorways. And I just haven't seen a gray one on YouTube yet, so I wanted to kind of check this out. So I guess it kind of looks like green, but it's really the gray version, I believe. Let's see, it's got a Jubilee bracelet. So you can get this with the Jubilee or an Oyster bracelet. I went the Jubilee because I think it looks a little nicer than the Oyster. I actually ordered another watch from them too with the Oyster. So this way I've got both a Jubilee and an Oyster bracelet that I can swap in between them. Of course, this has the Seiko NH35 automatic movement with a date. So let me go ahead and get all the plastic off of here and we'll take a closer look. Okay, here's the watch with all the plastic removed. So I do have to give credit to Steeldive for doing a good job at protecting all the stainless steel. They had the bracelet completely covered in plastic along with the clasp assembly and the watch itself. So good job, Steeldive, with that. So let's talk about some of the features of this watch, which you may or may not already know. So we have a ceramic bezel insert. This has the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. It has a 120 click unidirectional bezel, sapphire crystal, screw down crown, which is signed with the Steeldive logo. It has dimensions. Let's talk about dimensions. So we've got about a 40mm bezel diameter, and if you include the crown, it's about 45mm. Lug to lug on this one I measured at about 51. Now this one does have the Jubilee bracelet. It has male end links, male solid end links, so they are solid, but they are male, so they have this extra little piece coming out here. And I've seen this bracelet on other videos with female end links, so I'm just not sure if this is a running change, if this is a newer update to the bracelet, if they're all going to be shipping with male end links now. So some people don't like the male end links because it adds a little bit more lug-to-lug width than if it was a female. So what else can we show you on this watch? So this, again, is the gray version. So I haven't seen a video of the gray version yet, so I'm not sure if this is new. I've seen other colorways, so obviously they have the traditional black dial and black bezel. They have a green bezel with a black dial, which they refer to as the Starbucks version, or they've got a green on green, which is the Hulk version, and they have a blue on blue. And I went with this one because I don't have anything in gray. I've got some other colorways with some other watches, not Steeldive, but mainly Invictus. So let's take a look at the crown. So what we're going to do is unscrew it. And we're going to unscrew the crown, and we're going to go to the first position. So it's going to pop to the first position. This is your winding position. So to wind this watch, you go clockwise, and you can feel it winding. So this is an automatic, so it will wind as you move it because it has a rotor that will wind it as with the movement, but you can also manually wind it as well. Can't do that with all movements, especially some of the older Seiko movements. They're automatic only. They do not hand wind, and some of them don't hack as well. But this one hacks also. So the next position is going to be your date position, your quick set date position. And I don't normally like to start there because you typically never want to set your date first. So what I like to do is just make sure that we pull everything out to time setting. So there you can see we've hacked the second hand, meaning it stopped. And we're going to go ahead and just rotate around. We're going to see if we're in AM or PM. We'll see if the date changes. So the date has not changed, so we must have been in AM. So before setting the date, what I like to do is I just position the hands usually at 6 o'clock, okay? So it doesn't really matter if it's AM or PM at this point, but you never want to change the date using the quick date function when the hands are between 10 and 2, because that could possibly damage the movement, because that's usually when the quick date function starts to kick in and starts to change. So now that we know we're at 6, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the date, which might be there. Sometimes you miss it. Am I hand winding? Nope, I'm in winding, so I got to go back. There we go. We're going to change the date on this. We're going to go counterclockwise with the crown, and that should advance the date. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so one complaint with these watches is the Cyclops, right? So it's got a lot of magnification. Some people don't really like that. They think it's over magnified, and you know, seeing it in person, I think I have to agree. I wish they would have toned that down just a little bit, but I know there are some YouTube videos that show how to remove the Cyclops using heat, but I would be very careful with that just because I wouldn't want to damage like the crystal seal or maybe damage the bezel or something. Just I wouldn't want anything to discolor with heat, so I would probably wouldn't advise doing that. Now we're going to go ahead and push this back in. You can see there's a gasket in there as well. And push this back in. Now it's really important that you thread this all the way back in, otherwise you're not going to have any water resistance. So let's push this in. Now you also have to be careful not to strip the thread. So you got to push it in, try to engage the threads, and go ahead and screw it in. And don't force it. So if you feel any binding, just stop and try it again. You don't want to risk damaging the thread. So that worked pretty well. So one complaint with this watch that I've heard online is that it's a little gritty as you screw the crown in. And yeah, that's true. So you know, you might be able to put a little bit of silicone lube on those threads. That might help. But just remember, as you're screwing in this crown, you're actually winding the watch. Okay, so as you go this motion and you're threading that crown into the watch, into the case, you're actually also winding the automatic movement. So what you might be feeling is just the winding sensation or grittiness of the actual spring being wound and not the crown threads. Okay, so just remember that. So water resistance. So this is rated at 300 meters water resistance. And in all honesty, you know, I don't know if I would necessarily trust that rating. I have read some online reviews where people have actually dived with this watch. So I think I'd feel comfortable swimming with this watch, and I'd probably snorkel with this watch. I doubt I'd ever trust it to dive with this watch. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it isn't ISO certified, so you're kind of taking a risk if you take it deep. So just throwing that out there. What else can we talk about? Let's see. Let's talk about the clasp. So this has a clasp with a etched logo, Steeldive, and this has a safety clasp here and a push clasp with a pin. This is the newer milled style clasp. I think the earlier ones or older ones had a stamped or pressed piece of metal for this, and this one's milled. Now there's actually a newer clasp which you can get that's a little bit wider, that has a micro adjustment feature built into it. It's a quick setting adjustment. So this one has your traditional pin. So this has 6 adjustments here for micro adjustments. No diver's extension on this or anything. Now the other clasp that's available, which has the quick micro adjustment to it, it's a little bit wider and it's a little bit taller because it has an additional 3D logo that's on top of the clasp. So I went with this one because it was a little less expensive and because I wanted a clasp that was a little bit more streamlined or a little bit thinner, just in case it gets caught on a desk or something, right? Or on a sleeve. All right, so let's take a look at the bezel action. This has 120 clicks. See if we can listen to that. Pretty solid feel. And we'll see if we can get it back to 0. Oh, did I get there? Yeah, I guess I got there. That was an accident. I didn't mean to do that. Let's try that again. I'm going to stop it short this time. There we go. A little bit of spring back. You can see that. A little bit of back play, I guess. Not too much, though. There. Yeah, that looks good right there. So I really don't have any complaints about the placement of the bezel insert. It looks pretty well lined up. I don't think I'll mess with that at all. You can see that this gray dial does have a sunburst effect to it here. All right, so what's left to talk about this watch? One of the reasons why people love this watch is because of the lume. I guess it's got super luminova on the bezel and on the dial. So I'm going to go ahead and charge this up and we'll see if I can get some kind of lume shot, although most of you are probably already familiar with that because I think that's the major selling point of this watch is the lume. And here is a lume shot. You can see that the bezel is lumed along with the dial markers and hands and second hand. And here's a wrist shot. Yeah, so far I'm really liking this watch. I'm liking the gray color. So I think this is pretty unique. I don't have anything like it. So I think I'm going to enjoy this one. All right, thanks for watching.